Okay guys, so what I want to do now, I want to talk about options, summarizing the lecture that we had yesterday. So it's going to be a supplement after the recording because yesterday I haven't recorded. Okay, so we started to discuss options. So an option is is an option but not an obligation. To buy a certain asset or to sell a certain asset for a prescribed price. Okay, so so from here you have return and conditions of options. Okay, what defines options? So there are 5 things. The first one, okay, is whether you're a buyer or a seller. Okay, so if you're buying, if you have the option to buy an asset or to sell an asset. Okay, the second one is the underlying asset. What do you want to buy? Do you want to buy stocks, bonds, futures, commodities, or any other asset that you have in your mind? Second of all is the maturity of the option. Okay, when does the option mature? Okay, so if you have a timeline, let's say this is your timeline and you're entering into an option contract now, the maturity is a point where you, or until the point where you need to make the decision whether you buy or sell the asset. Okay? And then you have the strike. What is the price that you want to buy or sell the asset for? Okay? So these are the, the major properties, or the major properties that define the option price. Now, we discussed in class that you have 2 types of option, whether it's American or a European option. So for European option, let's say this is your timeline and this is your maturity, you can make decision whether you buy or sell the asset only at the end, at maturity. Okay, American options, however, you can decide whether you buy or sell the asset at any time until maturity of option. Okay, so if this is your timeline, the decision moment for a European option will be here. This is European. You have to do it only at one point in time, which is at maturity. However, for American options, it's the entire time frame where you can decide. Okay, so this is American, and this is going to be European. Okay. Now, how do you decide? How do you make this decision? Okay, so you want to look on the price. You want to look on the price of the asset at option maturity. So say, you have the commitment, you have the obligation, the option to buy the asset. And let's take two examples. Let's say first that it's a stock. Okay, so there are two scenarios now. At maturity, so let's say the stock price is $100. Okay, and your strike is $90. So in this case, you will buy the asset. Why? Because in this case, okay, you can buy the asset for $90 and sell it for 10, for 100. So your profit will be 100 minus 90, which is 10. Okay, so your decision is, unless you're not a rational person, your decision will be automatically to make a profit of $10. So you are going to sell the asset. So this is the first scenario, scenario one. What about scenario two? So scenario two, you have the following. Where the asset is going to be. So in this case, will you buy the asset for 90? The answer is no. Okay, because if you buy it for 90, you sell it for 80 on the open market. Okay, you lose $10. So will you lose $10? I don't think so. Okay? So this is a decision for call options. Now what about put options? So put options, call options is when you buy the asset, when you have an option to buy the asset. Put options when you have the option to sell the asset. Well, in this case, it will be a mirror image. Okay, so scenario one, okay, your strike price is 90 and your price, current price or price at maturity of the asset is 100. Will you sell the asset? I don't think so. Why? Because if you have $90 for sale, You need to buy it at 100. So your loss will be $10. Not good. Okay, vice versa. If price of asset is $80, okay, you will sell for 90. As you will make $10. Okay? Because you buy it 80 and you sell for 90. So overall you have $10 profit. Now let's assume that you have a future. So your asset, your underlying asset is a future. Okay, so how the timeline is going to look like? So if this is your time now, this is now, let's say that option matures here. This is your maturity of the option. And then from here to here, this will be the future that you enter. Okay, so what is the option of buying a future, let's say, that you're a future buyer? This is a call option on the future. Well, it means that you have the option, but not the obligation to enter into a future contract okay, with a prescribed price as a buyer. Okay, so if you're entering into a future contract here, you have then to buy the asset for whatever price you agreed here. Okay, so how do you make money on futures? Okay, on futures options. So in this case, let's say that you have a future on the S&P. Okay, and you enter into a contract to buy a 3 months expiry, a 3 months expiry future in 1 month, okay, with a future price, and this you specify an option of $4,000. Okay? So now there are two scenarios. What will happen in 3 months? Okay, so scenario 1 is when you have the futures current price, okay, in 3 months. So we are looking in 1 month. So we're looking in this situation. So here it's now. This is now. This is option expiry. And here is a future. So here we have the option. And here you have the future. So you need to decide here. after 1 month. Okay, so in this case, how does it work? Okay, so if in 3 months the price of the future that you observe in the market is, let's say, 4,100, you will enter into the contract. Okay, so it's going to be why? Because you will enter into a contract to buy the stock, let's say with $4,000. Okay, and the contract that you observe is 4,100. So what will happen here is that you are going to make $100. Okay, or present value, you need to present it value $100 times exponential minus 0.25 times R, this is your risk-free rate. Okay, because this actually, the $100 will occur at expiry, of the future. Okay, so there's this $100 here. All right, so in this case, you're going to have basically what? You're going to have, you're entering into $4,000, but it's 41, so you can sell the future, right? So you sell the future, and the market is 4,100, so you will make $100 on the future. Or more precisely, 100 times exponential minus 0.25 times the risk-free rate, and this is coming from the fact that it's 3 months. Okay, and now if you have the problem where it's going to be the contract that you answer is that you want to enter is $4,000, but the scenario in this case that the future price is $39.50, you will not enter into the contract. Okay? Why? Because why do you need to enter into a contract? With $4,500, with the $4,000, if the futures price you observe in the market is actually 3,900. Okay? So that's it. That's what I wanted to tell you. I hope that it clarifies what we did in the lecture, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, guys, take care.